Let's do quick introductions first. Lucy, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I'm Lucy Auckland, I'm Core Product Director at Awaze.
Ness?
I'm Nessa Marriott and I'm the commercial lead at Makepositive.
Great. So, got some questions here, Lucy. And first of all, you've obviously introduced yourself. Can you tell us a bit more about Awaze and your role, what you do at Awaze?
Yep, so I'll start with Awaze first of all. So Awaze is Europe's largest vacation managed rental company. So you'll probably know us through some of our trusted brands. So that's cottages.com, Ho Seasons, James Villas, Novasol. So we have around about nearly 100,000 accommodation choices for our guests to go on holiday to. And we service over 6 million holiday makers every year.
Brilliant. We've been working with Awaze in its various different guises, I think probably for about 15 years now. I remember going up to the contact centre up in Irby many years ago. And since then, you've really transformed the business and across lots of different areas. Can you, I guess, tell us a bit about how you got going with that journey and how you sort of enabled that transformation?
Yeah, so back in 2020, as we came out of the pandemic, we'd obviously been through a roller coaster of a year, and we decided that it was the time to move from like a project-led organisation into a product-led organisation. And there was a few things that we also agreed at the same time as doing that. So we decided that we wanted to adopt cloud-first technology, and we wanted to move to an organisation where we had persistent product teams. And the reason we wanted to do that is we tried over many years to deliver projects, but we weren't able to deliver value quick enough. So we wanted to move to this idea of having autonomous teams that can deliver value continually. So we have a really clear goal, so we have really clear outcomes for all our teams, but then we have around about 15 to 20 product teams who are autonomous every day in the way they work. And that's really enabled us to start to transform our business. It's enabled us to start to look at ourselves as Awaze rather than individual business units. And we're able to therefore go on a journey of simplification and unification. And we're able to work with trusted partners like Sabio and Salesforce to help make sure that we are able to provide amazing guest and owner experience.
And you mentioned the different product teams. Can you just give us a bit of an example of some of the areas that they focus on and how they operate?
Yeah, so we have a owner CRM product team, for example. So that product team is all about working with our owner services teams, working with our property recruiters, and they are looking at basically the entire owner contact. So within our business, we actually have two customers. We have the owners who own these amazing properties, the villas in Spain, the lodges on the lochs in Scotland, and these are amazing properties. And we have a really emotional, invested relationship with those owners. So we're able to use Salesforce now to help us manage that relationship, and it's given us so much data that our service teams and our recruitment teams are able to give first-class service. So that's just one example. We also have product teams, for example, within our pricing world. So looking at the price point that these holidays are on sale at. We're able to therefore use data again. We have a huge amount of data because we've got many years of experience within the industry. And we're able to talk to the owners about what's happening in the market. And we're able to help guide them through any conversation we need to have around price and what's happening with our customer base.
And that whole shift to being product-centric, I guess, and product teams was, I'm assuming, a massive change from how you were structured before. Can you tell us a bit about how you kind of pivoted the organisation to move, to restructure itself around that kind of process?
Yeah, so we made a key decision that we needed to scale our technology teams. We have great talent within the organisation, but what we couldn't do was recruit at scale. So we made the decision to have two tech hubs. One's located in Manchester and one's located out in Copenhagen. And since 2020, we've recruited around about 120 people into those teams. And that's been a real pivotal thing for us. So we've been making sure that we're recruiting the best talent. Where we can't recruit at scale in the time we need to, we use some trusted partners to help us. But we are really, really invested in making sure that we get great talent with the right skills. And that's been really, really pivotal for our business. And we've really started to see a change where technology is starting to lead some of the conversations within the business.
And you've obviously shifted quite extensively to the cloud across your CRM platforms, the contact center platform itself. I know we're doing some interesting stuff around AI with you at the moment as well. Why do you think that organizational structure that you've talked about is so important to exploiting what cloud technology can do?
So what it's enabled us to do is give our teams an ethos where they write it, they ship it, and they own it. So each team is responsible for the code that they're writing, and that's really been enabled by the cloud technologies. They're also looking after it, so if it's not working and our guest and owner experience isn't great, they're the people that are going to help us fix it. So we're less reliant now on the many kind of older organisations of infrastructure teams, etc. So the cloud first has really enabled the teams to feel the ownership and the accountability.
Lucy, how are you using Salesforce to help improve the customer, the employee, and also the owner experiences?
So if we start with the employee first, so what Salesforce is doing is it's enabling our employees to have data. So when they're on a call with our owners, they know everything about it. So they know if that owner's phoned up for like 3 times in the last 24 hours. We're using technology to start to understand the sentiment of the calls. So it's really making them feel more empowered, and it's making them feel that they can make the right decisions and giving the trust that they need to have that conversation. In terms of the owners, again, Salesforce is making sure the owners don't actually see Salesforce, but what they see is the output of it. They see the recruiters in their property capturing the details real time, and we've been able to accelerate how quickly we can get a property on sale. Ultimately, the owners are renting their properties out because they want people to come and stay and they want lots of bookings. Salesforce is helping us make that happen as quick as possible. When I joined the business 5.5 years ago, it took us something like 6 to 8 weeks to get a property on sale. With the use of technology now, we can do it in under 24 hours.
And can you tell us a bit about how you're extending the technology into the field and what impact this is having?
So, we're on a journey, so there's still lots and lots of opportunity for us to go at, but we are looking at using the technology within what we call our service operations. So this is where we have managed services out in the countries, and these are the people that help if you have a problem on your stay. So for example, you're on holiday and your boiler's broken. That's not a great experience, so we want to get someone out to that property as quick as we can to help with that customer experience. And we're using Salesforce shortly to help make that journey as good as possible. And we're going to use the technology and the algorithms within Salesforce to make sure we're doing that as efficiently as we possibly can.
And how is this interacting with your contact center technology?
So we implemented Genesis last year. It took us a little bit longer than we'd liked, but we've got there in the end, and we've integrated Genesis with Salesforce now. And we have big plans in terms of how we're going to use these 2 platforms, working alongside Sabio to make sure we're using the right features from the right platform at the right time. But not only are we using the platform, we are really fortunate as an organisation that we have people that have worked with us for many, many years. And it's the wealth of experience of the technology and understanding our business and understanding our guests and our owners, and that all coming together, which means that we can exploit and make sure we give the best experience possible.
And we're looking, or you're looking now, to introduce conversational AI into the customer journey. Can you tell us a bit more about that and how you're kind of getting on with that process?
Yeah, so like you say, we are at the start of that journey. And again, it's about really understanding the intent. So understanding whether a guest is calling us before their holiday, during their holiday, or after their holiday. So for example, if we know someone needs their arrival directions because they're in their car, they're all packed up with the 2 kids, and there's something like, I don't know where the property is. We want to be able to use the technology quickly to get them that information. We do recognise though that there's many times for contact that just aren't that simple. And again, this is where we really want to start to use that technology alongside our agents. So we want the technology to help the agent give the best experience possible. We recognise that there will be need for contact, but we just want to make sure it's at the right place at the right time.
And we talked a lot about AI this morning. What are you sort of seeing any other areas where you think you can exploit AI within the services that you're creating?
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of ways we can do that. We can look at it in the personalisation of the search on the website, for example. We can look at it within our pricing algorithms. There is so much potential, but it is about using it in the right place with the right intent. And that's a journey we've got to go on. Our transformation journey only started back in 2020. We've done so much and we've gone so fast, but we've still got a long way to go as well. So we do recognise that we're at the start.
Yeah. It writes raps as well, in case you didn't realise.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we've worked together for a few years now, and I know there's a great culture at Awaze. Where do you think that has come from, and I guess how has that helped you with the changes that you're looking to implement?
So again, when we moved to be this product-led organisation, we knew we really wanted to empower our teams and make sure they were autonomous, and that is at the heart of the culture. We do though recognise that we hired lots of people during lockdown, and we really want to make sure that they do feel part of something. So everyone that joins our teams, we try to make sure that they understand our product and what we do with our business. So that could be going out and viewing some of our amazing properties. Hopefully they go on holiday there. Or it can be going and sitting with some of our agents or going on a recruitment visit. So we try to make sure they feel that they understand Awaze and they understand what we're trying to do. But as a product and tech community, we look at ways to come together. So we have a product and tech fest every year where everyone across the organisation, regardless of location, comes into one central place. We work with other partners like AWS to run gamification days so that the engineers can upskill during the day. And it's finding ways for the teams to come together that add value to them. So we don't mandate that anyone comes to the office 5 days a week. We operate like a hybrid working model. But again, that's down to the teams. So the teams decide what days they come in, and they decide what part of their schedules they do in the office versus what they do on a remote basis. And I think that's what really brings the culture to life. They just feel empowered and passionate.
Mm-hmm. We talked a bit earlier as well about the current economic climate and how that's impacting consumers and their habits. How are you thinking that's going to affect you guys over the next year or so?
It's a tough one, isn't it? We can't, you can't open the newspaper at the moment without seeing the cost of living crisis. Lots of people though are still booking to go on holiday. And as we've mentioned, we're working really hard with our owners at the moment to explain the market, explain the conditions, and talk about the discounts that we can look to offer. We are seeing strong booking numbers. I guess the joy of domestic to domestic travel is that people find a way to do a short break. And holidays are a really emotional experience, and lots of people still strive to get there.
Yeah.
What are your key priorities for the coming year?
To finish the transformation. Yeah. So, as I said, it's been a journey. We have around about 3 or 4 more product teams that we will spin up in the next year. We have 2 very big old monolith systems within our business that have historically nearly done everything. So we'll have a real key focus on completing our single platform visions. We'll also work hard to make sure the cost of customer acquisition is kept to a minimum, and we'll really push making sure that we get strong direct traffic to our websites.
Great. We've got a few minutes as well if anyone wants to ask any questions. So does anyone have a question that they'd like to put to Lucy? Can't see her, the crowd there. Anyone? Yep, there's a question at the back there. Someone? Sorry, thank you, Craig. Right in the middle, unfortunately.
So we had a similar transformational program where we deployed Genesis last year as well. What channels have you deployed it across? And when you've done that, how did you define your kind of chatbot roadmap?
It's difficult to understand. I think it was about Genesis and the different.
Was it? Sorry,
Yeah.
it's
It's
quite
hard to
to
hear
hear.
that.
Oh, sorry,
So-
I can say it again. So we deployed Genesis around a similar time as you. And so I was wondering, what channels have you deployed it into? And how did you define the chatbot roadmap that you've got to today?
So we started across our voice and email channels first, and we spent quite a lot of time making sure that we've got that right and that we're able to make sure that all the calls are routing to the right places, and we're continually refining that routing. And that's something that will continue within the product roadmaps. And then we're then looking at going into the chatbot technology and refining that as well. So that's where we start. We've got many languages, we've got many different areas of the journey. So we basically start to try and define the MVP, the smallest place we can start, and then we look to basically learn from that and expand once we grow in that confidence. So the teams all set themselves OKRs and KPIs, and it's through kind of that measurement and journey that we go on.
We've had some quite interesting discussions about this actually, with you guys as well, haven't we? Because the complexity of your environment, as you say, across different languages, we need to think about where we can apply artificial intelligence to automate, which languages are supported. Some work on voice, some work on chat, some work on agent assistance. You've got two, industry-leading products there with Salesforce and Genesis, and trying to get the best out of both of those platforms and make sure they're working together. We've had a lot of discussions around that, and obviously that plays into the whole channel strategy. So it's never quite as straightforward as you think it is. These are incredibly powerful tools that each have strong capabilities, and trying to work through how to extract the best value from each of those tools is a really interesting, debate, isn't it, that we've been having over the last.
Yeah, and we're very much talking about how can we experiment and how can we learn, and then how can we react fast. So it's really, again, about making sure that we've got the right partner and we've got the right internal skill set to be able to take our learnings and move quickly.
Any other questions at all? Any others? Again, can't see here.
That's it.
Is there one more at the back there? Thank you. We're making Craig work hard here.
So how do you see the role of customer emotion impacting customers' lifetime value, and are you able to access that in terms of your day-to-day operation? In other words, are you able to measure and therefore act upon customers' emotional connection to the holiday? And are you seeing a connection to that with repeat customers? Sorry, if that's not too complex a question to ask.
Understand. So I'd say that's an area that we've got within our roadmap. So it's not something that we're actively working on at the moment. But with the implementation of Genesis and Salesforce, we've been having some workshops kind of at the back end of last year out in Denmark, talking about how we can understand that customer emotion better, and then how can we look at that through kind of all areas of the holiday, to be honest, kind of pre, during and post stay, and then what can that do to the lifetime value and the loyalty that we see from those customers. So we feel at the minute that we're probably not far enough down kind of the technology journey to get to that, but it's definitely something that kind of over the next, I'd say 6 to 12 months on the roadmap that we'll start to look at.
Just to add to that, I think we see a lot of organisations at the moment looking at sentiment and analytics technology, another branch of AI, to measure how customers are feeling. I think it's still very early stages for that technology. It's definitely an interesting area and probably one that we'll experiment with. But I still think the traditional methods of asking customers how they feel, are still much stronger ways than trying to rely on technology to surface sentiment and those types of things. And it's, again, back to the point we talked about earlier on, it's making sure that we join that data together and make sure it's part of a whole customer journey. I think that's really where we can start to understand customers' overall sentiment about the overall experience with the product. So, unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Lucy, for joining us on the stage. Lucy, and her team have just driven this amazing transformation in Awaze, and I thought it would be a really interesting case study for people to hear. Lucy and the team are going to be here for the rest of the day, so hopefully if you've got any questions, you can come and speak to any of them. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Lucy.
Yeah.